Okay, so I have a couple things I want to talk about today. So first, I want to talk a little bit about what I was doing on my little break from making content for all you guys, why I did that, and what I did while I was on my break. And one of the things is something that I think requires some action from you guys that I recommend in just a moment. So, why did I go on break? To be honest with you, I got to the point where I was getting a little bit overwhelmed with all the discussion of the budget bill, the big beautiful bill, which is, for anybody who is paying attention, who understands what we're pretty sure was in that thing, it's a great bill for the billionaire class, but it is basically a ticking time bomb for the rest of America. Like, the kinds of impacts that cutting, like, by the end of it, they got to almost $1 trillion, $1 trillion of cuts to Medicaid. People need to get an understanding about Medicaid, how you get Medicaid, how that is used, because a lot of people believe a lot of misinformation that's gone around. Same thing with Medicare, same thing with SNAP. This is going to be catastrophic. And the fact that it seemed like the more that there was debate about that bill, because Republicans have full control, they had the numbers in the House and the Senate to pass whatever version of this that they wanted. And I understand the fact that, like, if there is any debate among Republicans, it's because the bill isn't bad enough to meet their hardline stance that basically we have to basically render government meaningless aside from things like national defense. They call it national defense because they are completely hostile to the idea that the government is supposed to do anything for the people. This has been their stance for a long time, going back to at least the 1980s, right? So I was just getting really kind of overwhelmed with the ongoing discussion about how bad this was going to be, how much it's going to add to the debt and the deficit. Like, there's different numbers going around, and it really depends on how you do the calculation. And they were doing some funny business trying to act like it doesn't add to the debt and the deficit. I'm not as obsessed about the debt and the deficit as other people are. It depends on why you're getting into debt, because there are ways to benefit the people and the economy if you have the right tax structure. And who mostly gets the money? Because if most of us are benefiting from tax breaks, like working people, if we're able to keep more of our money and we as a default end up spending money, that's good for the economy, for the local economy and otherwise. It's even good for wealthy people. And that's my rationale for why wealthy people should pay more taxes, because of what they do with their money. They do a lot of evil shit with their money, but they also go and hide it. Like, we lose, I think the current estimate is we lose about $600 billion a year on taxes that wealthy people owe, that when they cheat on their taxes and don't pay. So that's just that. But this bill gives so much money to the rich, and it takes so much money from us. Like, there's so much bad shit in this bill. So I kept watching it get worse and worse and worse, and I got to the point where I'm like, and you know, I have to kind of tap out, and I need a break. So I took a break. And then Trump signed it, and of course, like, I was worried about what was going to happen on July 4th, because I was really concerned that effectively maybe they would just come out with it and say that because of components in this bill, effectively Trump just made himself, for all intents and purposes, king, and that our rule of law, everything we know in America, is kind of over. And I don't know if maybe he didn't do that because they know that some of the provisions that were not budget related got stripped. Like, I'm still not sure if there are components in there that people were really worried about, like things about like stopping the courts from holding the Trump regime in contempt when they violate the law and judges' orders. I don't know if that's still in there or not. So that's something I need to, find out from people that have a better understanding of the law and like kind of the language that the law is written in. Because that's not it's not something that is easy for the rest of us to just read through the thing and really have a comprehensive understanding of it. So that's why I kind of tapped out, because I felt kind of helpless, because it didn't really seem like whatever we do was going to work. Like, I still think we should do, and we should continue to do whatever we can. We need to use our options. We need to at least raise awareness. Like, we still have a job to do when it comes to all this, because it's been signed into law. Like, we need people to understand the harms that this bill is going to cause. It's already starting. Like, it's going to affect a lot of our hospitals that were already barely hanging on, that need Medicaid funding to stay open. Like, rural hospitals are going to get savaged. Many of them are going to shut down. We're talking, I think estimates were around like 760 or so hospitals will eventually get shut down over this. Nursing homes are going to shutter. I'm worried about the kids that I serve that are on like getting IEP services, that like, it's kind of, I don't know if it's partly related to the bill, but it's partly the fact that like they're just trying to shutter the Department of Education and firing a whole mess of people. Like, there's so many things to pay attention to. It's just kind of mind-numbing. So there's all that. So I take it in as much as I can, and then I take breaks when I have to. So I took a little longer break than I normally do, but part of that was because me and my girlfriend had planned a somewhat of a last-minute trip. So I'll talk about that in a second. So on a lighter note, what did I do when I was on my break? Like, maybe you guys want to know like what kinds of things that I do for self-care, what kind of things do I prioritize. And some of you may have heard that I lean into the idea that one of the ways that we fight back against fascism is to lean into joy whenever we can. Like, instead of being afraid, instead of feeling like hopeless and helpless, lean into joy. Like, go do things that we love to do with the people, whether or not it's with people or by ourselves. Use our time to enjoy ourselves, because when we have joy, that is a part of self-care. That is an important part of life. And I would argue, in some ways, this moment should be the most joyful part of our life, because it is so important now to recognize that because of the direction things seem to be heading in, it's really important that we enjoy our lives as much as possible and document those things while we resist, because we don't know what's going to happen. There is some chance that essentially, I said this was going to be more joyful. It will. Just let me get past this part. We are living in a moment that reminds me of the Diary of Anne Frank. And I know that just got dark, but it's true, right? Like, we are speaking truth about what's happening. We are recording history right now, while the atrocities are happening on our feeds, right? We're hearing about this stuff, people being kidnapped, human trafficked, being forced into horrific conditions, sometimes sent to places that they should not be sent, people being treated in ways that no human being should be treated. I don't even care if you are a criminal, you're still a human being. Like, even as a soldier, right? Like, I got training about rules of engagement when it came to, if we happen to get into a situation where we captured an enemy combatant, we're still supposed to treat them humanely. Like, if they have wounds, we care for their wounds. We make sure that they have food and water and shelter, and like we treat them as though we would treat a friend or family member, because they're a human being, and that's the standard. And some people are going to disagree with that, and honestly, you're just wrong. You're just wrong if you think that a human being deserves to be maltreated. What's your standard, really? Because if you're saying that's acceptable, you're also saying that's perfectly fine for someone else to do for whatever reason they come up with. If you can justify it against someone else, you're justifying it against yourself. So that's my standard, right? Treat others as how we want to be treated. Isn't that like the golden rule or something, right? For those religious folks out there. Anyway, the fact that it's kind of like the Diary of Anne Frank right now is true because we are recording history and we don't know that what happened on the other side of that, what happened after, was that she was captured and she died in one of the concentration camps, one of the death camps. We don't know if that's going to be our fate. So I say record history, resist as much as possible, but also value your life because you don't know what's going to happen. And we could potentially get to the other side of this where there's a better future for all of us. And that's what we should be thinking about. What we want, what we expect from our leaders going forward, what we want the government to do, what we need to be doing in our local communities, local politics, right? From boards to councils to what have you, lay out the web of things that how we organize ourselves and how we care for each other, because that is what's supposed to happen. When you talk about a government that is for the people, by the people, of the people, it's not to serve billionaires. It's not to serve an evil purpose. It's to take care of all of us. A representative democracy is supposed to be, we have a vote in who we elect, and those people are meant to serve us. So the whole idea that Republicans don't think that the government is supposed to serve the people, and I don't know what the hell their construction is. It doesn't make it's not coherent, which is why I say Republicans nowadays should just take off the mask and drop the lie labels that they use and just call themselves fascists. They're just a death cult. They're white supremacists, they're religious zealots, they're anti-government extremists. Anyway, I was supposed to get in the joy thing. So what was joyful that I did over the 3 or 4 days that I was on break? I went to Sonoma County. I spent some time with my girlfriend in Sebastopol. We got a really cool, she got us a really cool Airbnb that's kind of like somebody did almost like a wine barrel theme kind of thing that's like raised, and they got like a sauna on the property. There's like a little waterfall thing. They got these like cool like chaise kind of loungers. The inside the place was nice. The view was beautiful, and they give you like a bottle of like rosé, Pinot Noir rosé. They give you tips about places to go in the area. We did a bike and sip tour where we got to rent some e-mountain bikes. We went on a guided thing, stopped at a couple of vineyards, did some wine tasting, had a lunch. So that was beautiful. Really, really, really nice. Why am I blanking on the other stuff we did? We got to go into town a little bit, try some different restaurants, just kind of bop around and enjoyed ourselves. We had a nice little break. And those are kind of things that I enjoy. I haven't been to Sonoma for probably about, I think the only times that I've been out to Sonoma since I've been out to California, since I moved here in the end of 2011, was probably within the first year or two, I think. So that would have been back in 2012, 2013, I think. So it's been a while. It's been about 10 years, really. Wow. So that's a beautiful place. Sebastopol is great. It's a wonderful place. Lots of really cool people. I did see quite a few anti-Trump, anti-ICE signs there, which is encouraging. I did want to comment on that, actually. So there's lots of different places that me and my girlfriend go. Some are kind of off the beaten path a little bit into kind of rural parts of different places like Arizona, Utah, and California and other places. And there are a lot of places that are kind of rural that my girlfriend and me, I guess, to an extent, but especially her, where she worries. She feels less safe. The things that make her feel less safe, things that signal that there's a lot of Trump support. Why does that make her feel unsafe? Because she's brown, because she's Filipino. Think about that. In this country where we should feel free, where we should be able to go wherever we want to go, as long as we're, law-abiding citizens, which we are, we should not feel threatened by people. But she feels very threatened, very unsafe around Trump supporters. So if you lean that way, I want you to think about that. I will have my guard up a little bit, but I'm not necessarily I'm not scared of Trump supporters, but I am wary a little bit. I am worried that I'm potentially more unsafe around them than around anybody else from any other set of beliefs in politics, for sure. I don't know, something to think about. Drop a comment on what you guys think. Are there places around people that you don't feel safe around? And that's the state of America right now. Like, I don't remember that under Biden. Well, maybe, because there was a lot of unhinged people under Biden. People that refused to accept that Trump lost. I definitely don't remember that under Obama, or even during the Bush presidencies. Yeah, and I grew up when Reagan got elected. I was born in 1980. I don't know. It's a different America. All right, one more thing. Next video. So while I was on my break, I happened to watch a movie. It's this one. It's called Mountainhead. So what this movie is about is a bunch of billionaires that are out at they meet up as a group of friends at this place called Mountainhead. It's the guy that's like the least rich among them. He has this gigantic monstrosity built that's like high up in Utah somewhere, and the whole movie follows these guys that are involved in the tech sector. One of them has this app. It reminds me of something like, one of the social media apps, maybe some amalgamation of like Instagram or one of those other streaming apps where you can have feeds of like, video that people post. But basically the world is coming apart because of technology that allows for very believable deep fakes to be made, and there's just, it like hypercharges really harmful content, and the world is tearing itself apart all throughout this movie. And it follows these guys. One of them is played by Steve Carell, and it's kind of like being a fly on the wall. What I think of being a fly on the wall, listening to a group of billionaires talk to one another. And there was an article, I'll post the image here. There's an article in The Atlantic that talks about that movie and kind of how the thinking was about creating that movie, what the intention of it was, and the thought process through it. But I find it really interesting, and I would really like our lawmakers to watch this and read this article, because we need a more rapid response in dealing with big tech, and that's discussed in this article. Like, the problem with our lawmakers is the majority of them are very old, so they seem to just be very out of touch with how harmful these technologies actually are. There seems to be a failure of imagination and really understanding about how harmful this stuff can be, and how harmful it's already been. Like, Meta's already been linked to a genocide in in Malaysia? It starts with an M. I'm blank. I'm sorry. I have to look it up. It's actually hard to look into this a little bit, because Meta seems to kind of cover up some of this stuff. They don't like the accusation. I gotta go. Okay, I'm back. Sorry, I got cut off because my girlfriend was calling while I was making that video. So I just looked it up because I couldn't remember. It was Myanmar that Facebook was exponentially, because of the algorithm, and they didn't really step in. There was a lot of violent messaging that spread really, really fast in Myanmar, and there was a genocide there. And this was something that they basically had to acknowledge in court proceedings a while back, which is kind of interesting, right? Like, considering the content that's being covered in this Mountainhead movie, which, they're talking about how there's just this massive spread of dangerous, violent content. There's deep fakes, yes, that are spurring people to take real violent actions, and then there's a ton of video being spread, and news stories going on throughout the film, and the billionaires, they just keep kind of like downplaying it, or they're like, well, maybe it's just this part of this greater thing. Like, maybe it's a moment where maybe this is a good thing somehow, and we'll be ushering in a new society. And it's just weird, wild stuff. And like, it kind of reminds, like, they keep talking about like transhumanism and all this like weird tech bro lingo and all this stuff. So anyway, I'm not going to adequately explain this. I'm sorry. I'm doing my best, but I think you should check out the film, and you should definitely check out the article in the Atlantic. I show the title, and in the about the author section, there's a little snippet that I'd like you to read, because I think it applies to what we have going on now, where we have, and again, like, this is where it keeps being proven to be the case that that leftists are, they have a tendency to be right often and very early, and a lot of people really downplay our concerns. But like, it's frustrating because like we're shouting and trying to raise awareness, and people are not paying attention, and they keep going full tilt. And it's the same way with these billionaires. Like, they have people that are trying to like reach out to them to say, hey, maybe this isn't so great, like tamp it down a little bit. And every time they do that, they get pissed off and, basically like make threats. Like, at one point they're like, do we just coup the United States? And like, one of the guys, like, I would assume he's more or less talking about the fact that like Palantir and others have so much control over our military already. Like, these big like tech guys that just been made like colonels in important roles, commanding people. Like, it's wild to see this kind of critique of billionaires in a moment that is so apropos, like almost in like real time. Like, we have stuff like this happening now, where there's like a whole mess of like violence happening. People are just sort of accepting it, and there's more violence that keeps popping up all over the place. And I don't know what we do. So anyways, check it out. Leave your comments, your thoughts. If you saw it, I'd love to get your commentary. Maybe we can do like a video duet or something going. I think that'd be really interesting. So anyway, I'm on my way to pick up my dog, and I gotta edit this bad boy together. All right, guys, love you all. Don't feel guilty about like trying to have some joy in your life right now. Like, I know there's a lot going on, and maybe you feel kind of crappy about that when like lots of people are scared, being threatened. The point is, we don't want the fascists to beat us. Like, we don't want to be beaten down. We don't want to be like acting like we're terrified, and we also don't want to surrender. Like, don't comply in advance. Don't just assume that all this stuff is inevitable, because it's not. It really isn't. Like, they need our compliance. They need us to just bow down, and we're not going to do that. And we're going to live, and it's okay to live with joy. But also, like, if it's really bothering you, find actions that you can do. Find ways that you can help. Sometimes that's doing stuff like I do, like trying to raise awareness on what's going on. That's not all I'm doing. There's other stuff that I try to do behind the scenes. I just can't talk about that much, because I don't, try to hide my power level a little bit, so to speak. Anywho, you guys take care of yourselves. I appreciate you all. Love you all. Whether we agree or disagree, it doesn't matter. Like, as long as we're all in on the fighting fascism thing, we can set our other differences aside, because that's the major threat right now. We'll address the other major threats as they go. Sort of a step down kind of thing. Step down, step up. All right, cool. Thank you.